Hey guys, we're back tonight with the 2022 Honda Civic Si. We already filmed our first impressions video on this out in California at the launch, and I figured I'd give you guys some more thoughts on what this has been like to live with the last few days this week. And also, good opportunity for a night drive. Show you what the headlights look like, interior lighting, all that fun stuff. This is a pretty cool enthusiast package for the price. It's got just a ton of usable space on the inside. Back seats are really nice. It's comfortable. It's fun to drive. Pretty much all my thoughts from the initial impressions video still hold true. There is a lot to like about this new Civic Si. So, a couple questions that I had recently. It's pretty cold out. How does the shifter feel in the cold? Well, it's still pretty cool to the touch. Not something you want to rest your hand on, but between gears, it's okay. And the shift action isn't notchy. It's actually pretty smooth between gears, even on cold starts. I don't have any trouble getting into second, into first. No problems there, which is really nice. This touchscreen seems to take its time starting up sometimes, but once you get past this disclaimer message, Apple CarPlay, everything else connects pretty quickly. This has wireless CarPlay, Android Auto. I have a wired connection today, but otherwise, not the most responsive screen, but it gets the job done. Reverse camera looks pretty good, even at night. Not the highest res display, but it shows you what you need to. It's also probably still a little bit dirty from all the salt and grime on the roads. One of my favorite things about this interior at night is just how easy it is to adjust the display dimmer switch. It's just a physical switch. What a revolution. All the buttons, knobs, dials in here have a beautiful tactility. Everything is within reach, everything that you need except for the rev match option to turn that on and off. That's about 7 menus deep in the infotainment. You've got your drive mode selector down here. Individual, sport, normal. I've actually mostly been driving this around in sport this week. You get weightier steering, improved throttle response, and a little bit more artificial engine sound, which I kind of like in the lower revs. All right, let's take this thing for a drive. Clutch is super light. And the highlights for this car, oh man, the inputs are just so good. The shifter is fantastic. It is probably one of the best SI gearboxes I've ever felt. I like it a little bit more than the previous gen, and I might like it even a little bit more than the Civic Type R. It feels more bolt action, a little bit weightier, not as delicate, I guess. Steering is beautifully weighted. In sport mode, it has a really nice heft to it. And sometimes steering can be a little bit too artificially heavy. This is just about right. Decent amount of feel too, and this chassis just does some amazing things around corners. Really the only negative I've been able to come up with on this car this week is there's still just a little bit of rev hang in high revs. It's not as present. This does have a lighter weight flywheel, but because of emissions, we still do have some rev hang in this 1.5 liter turbo. When you're driving around normally though, just shifting below 4,000 RPM, the revs drop progressively, very naturally, and this car actually drives great. It's just when you're hammering on it, those revs hang above 5,000 or 6,000 RPM for just a little bit longer than they should. It's a big improvement from the 10th gen SI, but still not ideal. Definitely something that if I owned this car, I'd probably want to have tuned out. We'll do a little launch here, show you guys how this diff handles a second gear hairpin. It just rockets out of corners. Yeah, you guys can see what I mean about the rev hang. It's just dragging the clutch just a bit between gears. when you're driving spiritedly. Still makes a good noise in my opinion. Pedals are beautifully placed for heel-toe downshifts. And with this lighter weight flywheel comes much more responsive throttle response. You can even turn traction control off on this thing. And it really doesn't make that much of a difference because there's so much grip from that front diff. This is a genuinely fun front-wheel drive car to drive. It's comfortable enough to daily. The suspension is definitely on the more active and sporty side. It's not soft, but it's not too stiff. It doesn't punish you. I've driven it on some pretty terrible Michigan roads today, and I could live with it. Depends on your tolerance, of course. The handling is a real highlight for me in this car. The front end just tracks beautifully around corners. You give it some throttle early on at the apex and it just maintains its line. If anything, it kind of turns in a little bit stronger. A little bit of wheel hop off the line. But the traction from this front diff, even on these all-season tires, is hugely impressive. Power band's pretty linear. It does encourage you to rev it out a little bit, which I do like. There's not a ton of torque at low revs. In that sense, it feels like a Honda. So what else have I noticed this week living with the Civic Si? Fuel mileage. This thing gets incredible fuel economy. 33, 34 miles to the gallon in mixed driving without even trying. If anything, I'm having a little bit of fun and still getting those numbers. I'd say you'd easily be into the high 30s, if not low 40s on the highway. Grip here is just awesome. Auto high beams coming on. Headlights aren't amazing, but they're not too bad either. I'd say they're about average for a car at this price point. I just love the inputs of this new Civic Si. Between the shifter and the steering, the driver in me is really quite satisfied. Let's put it into normal mode. You guys can listen to the engine without the artificial sound. Definitely quiets down quite a bit. Radius feels pretty good. Steering returns to center really nicely. real subtle blow-off valve noise when you let off throttle. The car's pretty easy to drive smoothly. Clutch is pretty easy to modulate too, despite it being pretty lightweight. Overall, I just get really solid daily driver vibes out of this car. I think it would be a really nice vehicle to live with on a daily basis. There's a little bit of tire noise, but it mostly depends on the pavement type that you're driving on. Ride's a little bit busy, but if you're used to sporty cars and performance offerings, it's not going to be any different from your GTIs and your BRZs. Excellent fuel economy, really nice interior. I love how usable this interior space is. The functionality, the buttons, the layout of everything is really well done. It is a bit of a shame that Honda didn't include heated seats for the US market. That is for Canada only right now. And I don't know, I guess some people might miss the adaptive suspension. Honestly, I think this suspension setup's a really nice blend between ride and handling. And if you wanted to change it up, I would just go for an aftermarket set of quality coilovers. It is a bit of a shame that we don't have a physical handbrake, mechanical handbrake anymore. We just have this electronic parking brake. So no more handbrake turns in your front-wheel drive Civic Si. But the list for cars with actual handbrakes these days is getting pretty slim. Back into sport mode, of course. Rev matching is engaged, though sometimes I'm helping out a little bit with my right foot. Driving assistance features work super well. Adaptive cruise control is fantastic. Lane keep assist keeps you beautifully centered in the lanes. On the highway, on back roads, this is a huge improvement from the last generation Civic. Honda sensing was a little bit sketchy in the 10th gen, and this is just about perfect for what you want. Easily turn the system on and off. Just so much grip. It's wild. is so good. You could almost power on before the corner. And the suspension handles bumpy cornering really well too. The damping really comes into play and really shines at higher speeds. Around town it can be a little bit firm, but once you get up to speed, once you get going, it softens up beautifully. And around corners, around bumpy corners, you live in a state or an area with imperfect roads, this can handle potholed entrance ramps beautifully. It's just a satisfying car to drive. By no means perfect. It's not Honda's gift to enthusiasts, but it is a fantastic option in the marketplace, and I think just a really solid daily driver. Between the fuel economy, the price, the reliability of this car, the usability of this car, the space inside and out, it's a really, really perfect package with only one flaw, and that's just the mild bit of rev hang. But honestly, the more I've driven it, the more I've gotten used to it, the more the car has adapted to my driving, so we're kind of meeting in the middle. Quite a bit of tire noise on this pavement surface. Dark you can get with these gauges too. That's cool. Let's engage cruise control and lane keep assist. See how it handles this corner. Not touching the wheel, and it is doing a beautiful job. Will prompt you to actively take over the steering about every 10 seconds or so. It's not like you can just let the car drive itself. Super easy to enable and disable those systems. The buttons are just right there on the right side of the steering wheel. Alright, well I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this new Civic Si. Let's just drive this thing around a little bit, let you guys listen to the sounds of the car. If that's all you wanted to get out of this video, then thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. But until then, enjoy the sounds of this 1.5 liter VTEC turbocharged 4-cylinder. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later.